Hey everyone, and welcome back. Ready to dive into something pretty thought-provoking? We're going to be taking a close look at this academic paper.
Oh yeah, this one is really fascinating.
It's called The Path of Teaching the Baha'i Faith, Embracing Obstacles and Finding Strength in Baha'u'llah.
Catchy title, right?
Now, even if you're not super familiar with the Baha'i Faith itself, stick with us because this paper gets into something really universal, the whole challenge of sharing any deeply held belief, especially when it might kind of shake things up.
Exactly. It's like, how do you open up those conversations respectfully and meaningfully, even when you know there might be pushback?
Right. So this paper starts by getting into the nitty-gritty of human resistance to change, how we all kind of crave that comfort of familiar ideas, even when something new comes along.
It's almost instinctive, isn't it? Like, think about it. Remember the first time you heard about, let's say, quantum physics? Did you just instantly get it? Or did it take a while to even wrap your head around the concept, let alone accept it?
Totally. And the paper really digs into how those aha moments can sometimes feel more like uh-oh moments at first, right?
Exactly. Now imagine the added pressure when you're not just grappling with a new idea yourself, but actually trying to explain it to others.
That adds a whole other layer, doesn't it?
Totally. That's where teaching the Baha'i Faith, as this paper explores, brings in a whole new set of hurdles.
You're putting yourself out there, right? You're opening yourself up to potential judgment or even rejection.
Right, and it's natural to feel a little apprehensive about that. The paper acknowledges that.
Makes sense. But then it gets even more interesting because it makes this really key distinction between two types of fear.
Yeah, it talks about the fear that comes from our ego, the need to be right, to be accepted.
And then there's that deeper kind of fear, right?
Exactly. The one rooted in genuine concern for others, wanting to share something you believe is truly beneficial.
That's a really important point because it highlights that it's not about winning an argument.
Right.
It's about sharing something you genuinely believe has value for others.
And the paper doesn't stop there either. It also delves into those external pressures we face, the social and cultural norms that can make sharing different beliefs feel like swimming upstream.
Like you're going against the current.
Yeah, think about those cultures that are super rooted in tradition, introducing a new spiritual perspective that might not exactly be met with open arms,
It's almost like trying to explain the concept of evolution to someone who's deeply convinced of a literal 6-day creation.
Exactly. You're not just dealing with facts.
Yeah.
You're navigating deeply ingrained worldviews.
And that's where the paper shifts gears. It moves from the hurdles to the support system that the Baha'i Faith itself offers.
It highlights this incredibly powerful promise from Baha'u'llah, the prophet founder of the Baha'i Faith.
You can find it in the Kitab Aqdas.
One of the central holy texts.
It's a direct assurance of divine assistance for those who are out there teaching the Baha'i principles, and honestly, that part gave me chills.
I can imagine. It must be incredibly reassuring to have that kind of backing, especially when you're facing doubt or opposition.
Imagine that feeling, that wave of fear, and then being reminded that you're not alone.
That there's a higher force supporting your efforts.
That's what the paper suggests can transform apprehension into courage.
Uncertainty into unwavering conviction.
It reminds me of that Baha'i emphasis on perseverance, which the paper also touches on. It's not just a passive hope, it's an active commitment to keep going even when things get rough.
It is. And Baha'u'llah even urges his followers to not be discouraged by setbacks.
That resilience, that ability to bounce back from challenges, that's something we can all learn from regardless of what we believe.
Absolutely. Whether you're going after a personal goal, advocating for a cause, or just facing life's everyday obstacles, that grit is so essential.
So it sounds like this paper is saying that teaching the Baha'i Faith isn't just about convincing others.
Right.
It's also about personal growth, aligning your actions with a higher purpose.
Exactly. The paper argues that this alignment brings a deep sense of meaning to the act of teaching. It becomes about contributing to a more just world, reflecting that vision of unity and peace that the Baha'i teachings promote.
And speaking of justice, the paper even quotes Baha'u'llah linking justice with truly seeing, hearing, experiencing the fullness of life both in this world and the next.
It's a powerful connection, isn't it?
It is. It really speaks to that transformative power of actively working towards a just society, one that embodies the principles of the Baha'i Faith.
Yeah, and we'll get into more of those specifics in a bit. But first, we have to address the elephant in the room, right? This path can't always be easy. The paper acknowledges that there's a potential for loneliness, especially when you're facing indifference or even opposition.
That's real. It's something a lot of people struggle with.
And instead of just brushing it aside, the paper reframes solitude as an opportunity.
Oh, that's interesting. So instead of dreading being alone, it suggests embracing it as a space for what?
For reflection, for deepening your spiritual connection, for tapping into that inner wellspring of strength that we all have within us. Think about it. When are you most able to hear that quiet voice of wisdom? It's often when you step away from the noise and distractions.
It's like those classic stories of spiritual seekers finding clarity out in the wilderness.
Exactly. Solitude becomes this crucible for personal growth.
But while solitude is essential for that inner work, the paper also makes it clear that you don't have to walk this path alone.
Of course, you're not meant to be a lone wolf on this journey. The Baha'i community is specifically designed to provide that sense of belonging, that shared purpose, that network of support that can help you through those tough times.
So it's a balance, right? Nurturing your individual connection with the divine through solitude, but also drawing strength from a community of like-minded people who get what you're going through.
Exactly. And that idea, finding your tribe, your circle of support, that transcends any specific belief system, whether it's within a religious context, a professional field, or just a group of friends who share your passions, having that network can be incredibly empowering.
It's a powerful reminder that even though you might have those moments of feeling alone, you're ultimately part of something so much bigger.
And this leads us to what I think is the paper's most impactful point. It's not just about techniques or strategies for teaching. It's about cultivating this deep, unshakable faith and resilience. It's about trusting in that higher guidance to see you through the challenges.
Wow, that really resonates. It's like, instead of solely focusing on outward actions, the paper is calling for this internal transformation.
It's about finding that inner compass that guides you, even when the path gets rocky.
But I'm curious what resonated most with you about this idea of cultivating resilience and faith, not just in the context of teaching the Baha'i Faith, but in life as a whole.
What really struck me is that the paper suggests that this resilience comes from aligning your actions with your deepest values and beliefs. It's not just about willpower. It's about tapping into this wellspring of strength that flows from living in accordance with what you believe is truly right. When your actions reflect your deepest convictions, you unlock this resilience that can withstand anything. It's a profound idea, don't you think?
It really is, and it raises an important question for all of us listening today. What are your sources of strength and resilience when life throws you a curveball? What helps you stay true to yourself and your purpose, even when things get tough?
That's a powerful question to sit with for a while. I think it's a perfect place to pause for. Now give you some time to ponder that. We'll delve deeper into the specific rewards of teaching the Baha'i Faith and how to navigate those challenges in our next segment.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of teaching the Baha'i Faith. We've been unpacking those challenges, but the paper also offers a roadmap for not just surviving this path,
but thriving on it.
Yeah.
Right? One of the most fascinating things it dives into is this whole idea of reframing solitude.
Which we touched on a bit earlier. It's so easy to see solitude as a negative, like some kind of social timeout. But the paper really flips that script, suggesting it can actually be this wellspring of strength.
Makes sense, though, when you think about it.
Yeah.
When you're constantly bombarded with information and opinions and everyone's expectations, it's hard to connect with that inner compass.
So stepping back from the noise lets you tune into that deeper wisdom.
Exactly. And this isn't just some new agey concept either. It's echoed in spiritual traditions throughout history. You know, monks seeking enlightenment in isolation, prophets receiving divine guidance in the wilderness.
Like stepping away from the chaos helps you tune into a different frequency.
One that's often drowned out by the world's clamor.
And for those teaching the Baha'i Faith, that connection to the divine, that's what fuels their purpose.
Yeah, it's the source of their inspiration.
Their unwavering commitment to sharing these principles.
You could say it's like recharging those spiritual batteries.
Yeah. But the paper doesn't advocate becoming a hermit or anything.
Right, solitude is vital, but it also emphasizes the importance of community.
That sense of belonging we talked about, the Baha'i community, seems to play a pretty crucial role in providing that support.
Absolutely. Imagine trying to share something you deeply believe in and facing rejection or indifference.
It's gotta be tough.
Having that community that understands your journey can offer encouragement when you're feeling down.
They can celebrate your victories alongside you.
It's like having a cheering section in the marathon of life, you know?
Yeah.
Especially when you hit those inevitable uphill stretches.
Speaking of marathons, the paper really zeroes in on the Baha'i emphasis on perseverance.
It even quotes Baha'u'llah directly.
Yeah, urging followers to not be defeated by those setbacks.
To keep moving forward even when the path is thorny.
That's a message that resonates way beyond just a religious context. Whether you're chasing a dream, fighting for a cause, or just navigating daily life, that grit is so essential.
And the paper suggests that this perseverance is fueled by the spiritual assurances offered by Baha'u'llah. Knowing you have that divine support, that you're part of a larger plan, can really give you the strength to push through those doubts.
It's like having that unshakable faith that things will work out eventually.
Even when the path ahead seems unclear.
And that faith is nurtured by the teachings of the Baha'i Faith itself.
Those principles that emphasize the interconnectedness of humanity.
The importance of justice and unity.
And the ultimate triumph of good over evil.
So it's not a blind leap of faith.
It's a trust that's built on a foundation of principles that resonate deeply.
And this brings us to what the paper identifies as one of the most profound rewards of teaching the Baha'i Faith. It's this alignment of your actions with a higher purpose.
It's not just about sharing information.
It's about actively contributing to making humanity better.
The paper argues that this brings a profound sense of meaning to teaching. It becomes about contributing to a more just world, reflecting that vision of unity and peace.
Speaking of justice, there's this really powerful quote in the paper.
From the Kitabi Aqwas.
It's where Baha'u'llah links justice with actually experiencing the fullness of life, both now and in the future.
It's a potent reminder that working towards a just society isn't just a spiritual obligation.
It's a path to true fulfillment.
But let's be real, this path isn't always a walk in the park. The paper acknowledges that teaching the Baha'i Faith can be challenging, especially when you're navigating cultural differences.
Right, you're not trying to impose a single worldview on everyone.
In fact, the Baha'i teachings champion unity in diversity. They recognize the inherent worth of every individual, regardless of their background, beliefs, culture.
So instead of trying to convert everyone to a uniform way of thinking,
it's about fostering dialogue, collaboration, recognizing that shared humanity.
And this is where the Baha'i emphasis on consultation comes in.
You know, consultation.
It's not a word you hear every day.
It's basically a process of collaborative decision-making, where every single voice is heard and valued.
So instead of decisions being made by a select few, the Baha'i community encourages open and respectful dialogue.
Exactly. And the paper points out how crucial this is for creating a sense of ownership and buy-in.
When people feel like they have a say, they're more likely to be engaged.
Committed to the collective effort.
It's about empowering individuals to shape their community.
To work together towards a shared vision.
And this principle of consultation goes way beyond just the Baha'i community. It's a valuable tool for any group, whether it's in business, a nonprofit, even within families.
It's about fostering a culture of respect, collaboration, open communication.
Where everyone feels like they can contribute their unique talent.
And their perspectives.
It's like we need all hands on deck to navigate the complex challenges facing humanity today.
No single person or group has all the answers.
And the Baha'i Faith, with its emphasis on consultation, offers a framework for tackling those challenges together.
But the paper is realistic too. It acknowledges that sharing something as profound as the Baha'i Faith requires courage and resilience.
It doesn't sugarcoat the potential for pushback or even outright rejection.
It can be disheartening.
And that's where that inner reservoir of strength we talked about, nurtured through solitude and community, becomes so vital.
But the paper also emphasizes the practical skills that are needed to effectively share the Baha'i teachings.
So it's not just about passion and conviction.
Right, you need to hone those communication skills too.
Learning how to engage in meaningful conversations, tailoring your approach to different audiences.
Being respectful, listening attentively, finding that common ground, even when perspectives differ.
It's a lot to juggle.
And it takes patience. The paper reminds us that spiritual transformation is a process.
Not like an overnight conversion.
It's about planting seeds, nurturing those seeds, and trusting that they will blossom in their own time.
Like the saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
Exactly. You can present the teachings with all the clarity and conviction in the world, but you can't force anyone to accept them.
And the paper suggests that the most powerful way to teach these principles is through your actions.
Through living a life that embodies those values.
Being a living example of the Baha'i teachings.
Letting our actions speak louder than words.
And speaking of justice, the paper highlights this poignant quote from Baha'u'llah. He says, "The best beloved of all things in my sight is justice. Turn not away therefrom if thou desirest me."
Powerful words, right?
They are. It's a reminder that living a just life isn't about these lofty ideals.
It's about aligning our actions with our beliefs,
Making choices that reflect those values in every single aspect of our lives.
weaving those principles into the very fabric of our being.
And the paper goes on to connect this commitment to justice with those core Baha'i teachings. The oneness of humanity, the interconnectedness of all things.
Recognizing that our actions have consequences.
That by working towards the well-being of others, we're ultimately contributing to our own well-being as well.
It's that beautiful concept of interconnectedness.
The idea that we're all part of one global tapestry.
And the paper suggests that this understanding naturally leads to a sense of detachment. Another key concept we touched on earlier.
Remind me what the paper means by detachment in this context.
It's not about becoming indifferent or aloof. It's about releasing that attachment to the outcome. We can do our best to share the Baha'i teachings, but ultimately it's up to each individual to decide whether or not to embrace them.
So it's like surrendering that need to control, trusting that a higher power is guiding the process.
Exactly. And this detachment can be incredibly liberating. It frees us from that burden of feeling like we have to convince everyone.
Allows us to focus on simply sharing the message with love and sincerity.
Trusting that those seeds of knowledge and understanding will eventually find fertile ground.
Even if we don't see immediate results.
Our efforts still contribute to the larger goal.
And the paper links this detachment to the concept of humility, which is pretty deeply ingrained in the Baha'i teachings.
It is. How so?
Well, the Baha'i Faith emphasizes recognizing our own limitations, acknowledging that we're all imperfect beings striving to learn and grow.
So it's not about presenting ourselves as having all the answers.
It's about approaching teaching with humility and openness, a willingness to learn from others.
Precisely. Creating a space for genuine dialogue and mutual understanding.
Recognizing that everyone has something valuable to contribute.
It's about honoring that diversity of human experience.
Acknowledging that we can all learn from each other's perspectives.
And this humility extends to the Baha'i approach to interfaith dialogue, which the paper also highlights.
So what's unique about the Baha'i approach to interfaith dialogue?
It's rooted in this deep respect for all religions,
Recognizing them as varied paths.
leading toward the same divine reality.
So instead of viewing other religions as competition,
The Baha'i Faith sees them as partners.
in the pursuit of truth and spiritual enlightenment,
Exactly. It's about finding that common ground,
celebrating those shared values.
recognizing that we can all learn and grow from each other's unique spiritual perspectives.
It's a beautiful vision, a world where people from all walks of life can coexist and collaborate.
Each contributing their own unique piece to the puzzle of human understanding.
And the paper suggests that this kind of interfaith dialogue isn't just a feel-good ideal.
It's a vital step toward creating a more peaceful and harmonious world.
It's about dismantling those walls of prejudice and intolerance.
Recognizing that diversity isn't a threat, but a source of strength and enrichment.
And the Baha'i Faith offers this model for conducting that dialogue with respect, understanding, and a genuine desire to learn.
It's about building those bridges of communication, fostering empathy and compassion.
Ultimately working together to create a world where everyone feels valued and respected.
It's a reminder that despite all our differences, we're all interconnected, sharing this planet and facing those common challenges.
And that brings us to the heart of what we've been exploring, this belief that a better world is possible.
A world where unity, justice, and peace prevail.
It's a vision that requires a shift in consciousness.
A recognition of our interconnectedness.
And a willingness to collaborate on solutions that benefit all of humanity.
And the Baha'i Faith, with its focus on those principles, offers a compelling roadmap toward making that vision a reality.
It's a path that's open to everyone, regardless of their background or belief.
And while it might have its challenges, the paper makes it clear that the rewards are profound.
Absolutely. It's about discovering meaning and purpose in life.
Connecting with something larger than ourselves.
And actively contributing to creating a world that reflects our highest aspirations.
Before we move on, I'd like to share a final thought about that power of detachment. The paper suggests that it goes beyond just releasing the need to control outcomes. It's about developing this deeper trust in the unfolding of life. Recognizing that we're all part of this grand tapestry, even if we can't always see the full design.
It's a beautiful way to put it. It's like surrendering to the mystery of existence, trusting that even our smallest actions contribute to a larger unfolding purpose.
And with that in mind, let's shift gears and explore some of the practical aspects of teaching the Baha'i Faith, as highlighted in the paper.
Welcome back to our deep dive. We've been on quite a journey exploring all the ins and outs of teaching the Baha'i Faith.
We really have, and what struck me is how this paper, The Path of Teaching the Baha'i Faith, embracing obstacles and finding strength in Baha'u'llah, it bridges that gap between something so personal
and something so universal.
Exactly. Like, it speaks to that yearning we all have, to share what we believe in.
To make a difference, to leave the world a little better than we found it.
And that emphasis on aligning our actions with our beliefs, that really resonated with me.
Yeah, it's that whole walk the walk, not just talk the talk idea.
It's one thing to grasp a concept intellectually, but it's a whole other level to actually live it.
To embody it.
To let those principles of unity, justice, love flow through your actions.
You become a living example.
And that's where the true power of teaching the Baha'i Faith lies, according to the paper.
But of course, the paper doesn't shy away from the reality that this path is full of challenges.
Well, absolutely. We've talked about that inherent resistance to change, those fears and doubts that can creep in, those social pressures that can make you question everything.
It's like you're navigating a minefield sometimes.
And the paper offers this powerful antidote to those challenges.
Which is?
This deep, unwavering faith rooted in the spiritual assurances of Baha'u'llah.
And we're not talking about blind faith here, right?
Not at all. It's about cultivating a trust that's grounded in something much deeper.
So how do you actually cultivate that kind of trust?
The paper suggests it comes from engaging with the teachings themselves.
Experiencing that connection to something larger than yourself.
And having the support of a vibrant, loving community.
That community aspect keeps coming up.
And rightfully so. The Baha'i community is all about that sense of belonging, that shared purpose, that network of support.
Like a group of fellow travelers on this journey.
People who get you, who celebrate your victories, who offer a hand when you stumble.
And that idea of finding your tribe that transcends any specific belief, right?
Totally. It could be a religious community, a group of friends united by a shared passion, even an online forum of people facing similar challenges. That sense of belonging is incredibly powerful.
It reminds you that you're not alone, even though everyone has their own unique path.
But the paper also emphasizes the need for that personal resilience.
Right, that inner strength.
It actually quotes Baha'u'llah, urging his followers to not be discouraged by setbacks, to keep pressing on, even when the path seems impossible.
It's a message that resonates far beyond any specific religion. Cultivating that inner grit is essential for overcoming any obstacle.
And that resilience isn't something you're just born with. The paper suggests it's cultivated through both inner strength and practical tools.
So it's about having a positive attitude, but also developing those concrete skills.
Exactly. Things like honing your communication skills.
Learning how to really engage in conversations.
Tailoring your approach to different audiences.
Being respectful, listening attentively, finding that common ground, even when perspectives clash.
And being patient. Spiritual transformation takes time.
It's not an instant conversion.
It's a process of planting seeds, nurturing those seeds, and trusting that they will blossom in their own time.
It's like gardening. You can't force a seed to sprout.
You create the right conditions, and then you patiently wait.
And the paper goes even further. It says that the most effective way to teach the Baha'i Faith is through your actions.
By living a life that reflects those principles.
Actions speak louder than words, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You become a living embodiment of those teachings.
And that brings us back to the theme of justice, which the paper highlights as being so central.
It even quotes Baha'u'llah directly. He says, "The best beloved of all things in my sight is justice. Turn not away therefrom if thou desirest me."
Powerful words. It's a call to action to actually live a just life.
Not just to think about it, but to make choices that reflect those values.
In every aspect of life.
To weave those principles into everything we do.
And the paper connects that commitment to justice with the core Baha'i teachings. That oneness of humanity, the interconnectedness of all things.
We're all part of one global family.
Sharing this planet.
Responsible for each other's well-being.
And from that understanding comes that sense of detachment, which we talked about before.
Right. It's not about being indifferent. It's about releasing that attachment to outcomes.
Trusting that a higher power is guiding things.
It can be so liberating. It frees you from that pressure of having to convince everyone.
And it allows you to just share the message from the heart.
Knowing that those seeds of understanding will find their way.
And this detachment ties in with the Baha'i concept of humility.
It does. Humility is all about recognizing our own limitations.
Knowing that we don't have all the answers.
Being open to learning from others.
Even from those who see things differently.
Creating a space for dialogue and mutual respect.
And that humility extends to the Baha'i approach to interfaith dialogue.
Which the paper highlights as a model for engagement between people of different faiths.
So what makes the Baha'i approach to interfaith dialogue unique?
It's rooted in respect for all religions. See them all as expressions of one divine reality.
So not competitors, but partners on this journey of seeking truth.
Exactly. It's about finding that common ground, celebrating those shared values, and learning from each other's unique perspectives.
Building bridges instead of walls.
And the paper suggests that this kind of dialogue is crucial for a more peaceful and harmonious world.
Recognizing that our diversity is a strength.
Not a threat.
And the Baha'i Faith offers a model for how to navigate those differences with compassion and understanding.
And that brings us to the core of what we've been exploring, this belief that a better world is possible.
A world where unity, justice, and peace prevail.
And the Baha'i Faith provides a roadmap for getting there.
It's a path that's open to everyone.
It might be challenging, but the rewards are immeasurable.
It's about finding meaning in life, connecting with something larger than yourself.
Contributing to a world that reflects our highest aspirations.
As we wrap up this deep dive, we invite you to reflect on what we've uncovered together. What are the beliefs and values that you hold dear? How can you embody those principles in your own life?
It's been incredible exploring these ideas with you. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the world of teaching the Baha'i Faith. We hope you found it informative and inspiring.
And remember, the journey doesn't end here. Keep seeking, keep learning, and keep striving to make a difference. Until next time.